Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing a cook dinner with me video. This video will have 6 dinner ideas that you can make for you and your family. And I'm super excited because today's video is a collaboration with LeeAnne from GradysMom. If you guys are not familiar with her channel, you need to check it out ASAP. I have been friends with her for a while now, and when I first started consistently uploading new content on my YouTube channel, she was one of the people that I definitely looked up to and modeled my channel after. So on her channel, you will find lots of food inspiration. She posts a weekly grocery haul and meal plan just like I do. She also posts a lot of different lunch videos. She posts what's for dinner videos, and you can see here that she packs her husband's lunch for work every day, and so I get a ton of great inspiration from her. So I will leave a link to her channel down below, as well as her what's for dinner video. So please be sure you check that out. If you like my channel, you will definitely love hers. And if you are coming over from LeeAnne's channel, I hope you will stick around. So the first dinner that I'm going to make is a Caprese chicken, and this is basically some chicken breast with mozzarella, tomatoes, and basil on top. So what I'm doing here is just roasting some cherry tomatoes at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes. I season these with some olive oil, salt, pepper, and thyme. And then while those are roasting in the oven, I am going to season my chicken breasts. So I just have 4 thin cut chicken breasts here. I'm going to season them with lemon juice, olive oil, salt, pepper, some garlic paste, and some dried seasonings. I believe I used oregano, thyme, and a little bit of crushed red pepper flake. I definitely like to make sure that I season my chicken breast well. You have to remember that chicken in and of itself really doesn't taste like much, and so you can be liberal with the seasonings, otherwise your chicken will definitely be bland. So once the first side is seasoned, I'm going to flip it over and season the other side. I just like to use a fork to kind of mash the garlic paste into the chicken, and then I went ahead and let that sit and kind of marinate for a little bit while I was heating up my skillet. So for the chicken, I'm also going to add some mozzarella cheese. Like I said before, I'm using fresh mozzarella for this particular dish. And I'm sorry, I don't have a recipe for this meal. I just kind of made it up as I went. But I'm using fresh mozzarella instead of the grated mozzarella. You could definitely use either. Once my oil is heated up in the skillet, I'm just going to saute my chicken. You don't have to cook it all the way through because you're also going to cook this in the oven for a little bit after you are done cooking it on the stovetop. Also, I wanted to make a salad with this to go on the side. So I just have some green leaf lettuce. I'm going to chop that up. I always prefer to definitely chop my own lettuce rather than buy the pre-bagged kind. And I'll just put that in my salad spinner. I like to soak my greens in cold lemon water before I spin them dry. So now the chicken is brown on both sides. I'm just going to remove that to a baking sheet that I've lined with foil just to make for easier cleanup. And then you can just go ahead and layer on the mozzarella cheese. So I will do that. And then after I'm done layering on the mozzarella, I'm going to boil some pasta. I don't eat a lot of pasta, but my kids love it and my husband eats some as well. So I just was cooking half a box of fettuccine to serve on the side. So now that my cherry tomatoes are done roasting, I'm just going to go ahead and spoon those over the cheese on top of the chicken. I just tried to make sure that I spoon those over evenly. The cherry tomatoes are nice and roasted. I really love roasted cherry tomatoes. I could just eat them as a side dish. So now I'm just going to pop that in the oven. Basically, you just want to make sure the chicken is cooked through and the cheese is melted. So while that's cooking, I'm going to finish up the salad. I have a little bit of cucumber that I'm chopping up along with some cherry tomatoes for the salad as well. So now I'm just going to go ahead and get my basil chopped up. The best way to do this is just to roll the leaves up all together really tightly and slice them with your chef's knife. After that is done, then I pulled the chicken out of the oven and I just went ahead and sprinkled the basil over the top. So you can see here is the finished chicken. This was super delicious. I will definitely be making it again. Just awesome flavors and a really great dinner that even my kids loved. So here are my kids' plates. I put a little bit of Alfredo sauce with the fettuccine. So my son likes salad, my daughter doesn't. And so I just gave them some chicken and pasta and a few fruits and veggies on the side. I did not have any pasta. I just had one of the chicken breasts with a salad on the side with cheese, tomatoes, cucumber, ranch, and some sunflower seeds. Okay, so the next dinner that we're going to make is some taco meat in the Instant Pot. This is my favorite way to make it. So for this, you will need some ground beef, some olive oil, some Worcestershire sauce, some beef broth, or I'm just going to use beef bouillon and make my own. You also need a little bit of masa flour to thicken it up at the end, and then a bunch of spices. So chili powder, some garlic powder, onion powder, cumin, some dried oregano, paprika, just a little bit of cayenne pepper, along with some pepper and salt. My sister is actually who turned me on to this Instant Pot taco meat recipe, and I really love it. So if you guys have an Instant Pot, I would encourage you to try it. So I'm just going to set my Instant Pot to saute and put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of it. And then I will go ahead and brown my ground beef. I'm using 2 pounds here, so I'm just double the recipe. I will leave a link to that recipe down below. I also have this meat chopper from Pampered Chef that I love to use when I saute any kind of ground meat. So basically you just put a 1/4 cup of the beef broth in there along with the meat and some salt, and go ahead and leave it on the saute mode until it's cooked through. The next thing I'm going to do is just mix all of my seasonings together in a bowl. You probably don't have to do this. I prefer to, just to make sure that I get them all mixed together evenly, and I can do all this actually while the ground beef is cooking. So basically all of those seasonings I mentioned before, I just went ahead and measured those out and put them in a bowl and combined them together. Okay, so once your beef is cooked, you can go ahead and drain it if it needs it. Add the rest of your beef broth along with all of the seasonings and the Worcestershire sauce, and then you just want to stir that up until it is well combined. Make sure that all of the seasonings and the beef and the broth and everything is combined together in your Instant Pot. After that is done, you're going to go ahead and put the lid on. Make sure that it is set to sealing, and then this only takes 3 minutes on high pressure, so it doesn't take very long at all. Once it is done, you just want to do a natural pressure release for 10 minutes and then let the rest of the steam out. And then at this point, you can go ahead and add your masa flour. I've made it with and without this. I do think that the masa adds a little bit of thickness at the end. So basically, you can just let that cook until the taco meat is thickened up, and then leave it on keep warm until you're ready to eat. So I was feeling a little bit inspired on this particular night, and I wanted to make these tortillas like my mom used to make when we were kids. Basically, you just take regular flour tortillas and fry them in a little bit of canola or vegetable oil until they are light brown. You don't want to fry them until they're crispy. So you just want to fry them until they are browned but still pliable. It will make sense when you do it, but this is a really great way to eat flour tacos. I'm not saying that this is the healthiest way to do it, but honestly, it's super delicious, and every once in a while, I just crave them like this. So here is my finished taco meat. This is pretty much done now, so I can go ahead and take that off of the saute function and leave it on keep warm until we are ready to eat. And then my shells have also cooled. I went ahead while they were still warm and kind of folded them over into a taco shape. So those are ready to go. And here are my kids' plates. So Connor is eating a taco along with some Doritos and some watermelon. He likes lots of stuff on his, and Kira likes nothing on hers. So I actually got these taco plates at Aldi randomly one week. And then here is my husband's. So he's got 2 tacos. And then I had some leftover nacho cheese in the fridge. I just heated up with some jalapenos and put those on top of some tortilla chips. So here's mine. I just had 1 taco with a little bit of nachos. So if you have an Instant Pot, I would totally recommend this recipe. If you don't, still go ahead and make your regular taco meat along with those shells. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you how to make is some Reuben dip. For this, you will need some sour cream, some cream cheese, some shredded Swiss cheese, along with some deli corned beef, just half a pound. And then you'll also need some Thousand Island dressing, along with some sauerkraut, and then either crackers or rye bread to toast up to dip it in. So this recipe was something that our friends brought over to our house for Labor Day, and it was really good. I wanted to make it again. This isn't necessarily a dinner per se, but we like to just eat kind of like snacks and appetizers on Sundays when my husband is watching football. And so this is just something I made along with a couple other things for us to snack on throughout the day. So I figured I would show it. I will leave a link to the original recipe in the description box below. But if you like Reuben's, I would totally recommend making this. It is really, really delicious. So basically you just want to mix everything up in a bowl and then go ahead and chop up your corned beef and add that to your cream cheese and sour cream and your Thousand Island dressing and your sauerkraut. I used a mixer just because I thought it would be easier to cream up the cream cheese with the sour cream. And then I just waited to the end to add the meat because I didn't want to tear it up too much. So I'm just using a small shallow baking dish to bake this in. I went ahead and sprayed it with some cooking spray, and then I'll just basically spread the mixture in. And then after that, you can go ahead and sprinkle the rest of the cheese on top. I probably used more cheese than the recipe called for because why not, right? So once that is on the top, then you can go ahead and put it in the oven to bake. The recipe called for 400 degrees for 20 minutes. I think I ended up baking it for another 5 to 10 minutes. I can't remember, just because I thought it needed more. So to go with this dip, I thought that it would be best to use either a cracker or a bread that was sort of rye flavored to make sure that I kept the Reuben theme intact. So I'm basically using some cocktail rye breads that I just sprayed with cooking spray and baked those in the oven at 400 for about 5 minutes on each side. You could also use rye Triscuits if you can find those in your grocery store. So here is the bread toasted up, and the dip is hot out of the oven. So you can see here that it is super cheesy and creamy. This is definitely something that's really rich, but it's really good. I would totally recommend making it. I also heated up some buffalo chicken meatballs. I will leave a link to this recipe down below also if you're interested in that. And then Adam, my husband, heated up some brisket that we had left over from the previous week in the crock pot with some barbecue sauce. And so we just kind of snacked on these foods all day. Okay, so the next night for dinner, we are going to have BLTs and pasta salad. So I'm just taking the easy way out kind of and making a suddenly salad, the BLT kind. So for that, you'll just boil the pasta per the package directions, and you'll need some mayo. I actually use a little bit of, you can either use half and half or milk to kind of thin out the dressing. If you don't use this, sometimes I feel like the salad is a little bit dry. So I always like to add a little bit of milk just to loosen it up and make sure that the pasta doesn't dry out. So super easy. You just mix up the mayo with the seasoning and the half and half or milk. And then I went ahead and drained the pasta, rinsed it under cold water, drained it really well. And then you can just go ahead and combine that. And then I put it in a resealable dish in the fridge. You want to make sure you make this ahead of time so that it can have some time to sit before you eat. Okay, so for the BLTs, you will obviously need some bacon. My favorite way to cook bacon, if I'm going to do a whole package of it or a large batch, is in the oven. So I just have a large cookie sheet with a cooling rack that fits inside of it. I went ahead and covered the baking sheet with foil just for easier cleanup. And then you can go ahead and layer your bacon in a single layer on the cooking rack on top of your cookie sheet. And basically you will cook this in the oven. All of the fat and drippings from the bacon will drain off, and you'll be left with nice crispy bacon and not a lot of grease on your stovetop, which is always nice. So I went ahead and cooked this at 400 degrees for 25 minutes. That is about perfect, I think, for the amount of doneness that I like it. And then I had gotten these tomatoes from the farmer's market, and tomatoes from the farmer's market are always better. I always like to make sure when I get those that I make BLTs or something like that, just because they're so much better than grocery store tomatoes. So I'm just going to go ahead and get these sliced up. I like to put them on a plate and season them with salt and pepper, and they can just sit there and wait until it is time to eat. So in my opinion, the best kind of lettuce to use for BLTs is definitely iceberg lettuce. I don't really buy this very much to use for salads just because it's a little bit flavorless, but for sandwiches and tacos and things like that, iceberg lettuce is definitely the best. So I just kind of cut off a small chunk of it, and then I'm going to separate the leaves. I went ahead and put those in my salad spinner and washed them off. Here is the bacon all cooked up. So now that that's done, I will just let that sit while I assemble the rest of our dinner. So here is Connor's plate. He just has a BLT. I like to toast the bread. So he's having that along with a pickle and some chips and some grapes. And then here's my plate. I just have some whole wheat bread along with some pasta salad and a pickle. I was not able to eat all the pasta salad, but I also like to put cheese on my BLT, which I know some people think that's a little weird, but it's my favorite way to eat it. So here is also a bonus lunch idea for you guys. So if you are new to my channel, I post meal prep videos every week, or I try to anyway. And so this was actually a lunch that I had for dinner on this particular week. I had already meal prepped the chicken beforehand, so I just basically had to pull that out of the fridge along with all my veggies, and I made this awesome Greek chicken salad with cucumbers, tomatoes, red onion, feta cheese, some hummus, and some romaine lettuce. So that was really, really good. Okay, so next I'm going to show you how I make salmon and shrimp. We have this probably once every couple weeks. My kids actually really like salmon, and my husband and I like shrimp, so it's a good alternative to red meat and chicken, which we can kind of get tired of. So I actually like to get my salmon fillets from Costco. I cut them up and put them in the freezer and then take them out as we need them. So I went ahead and seasoned that up. While that's baking in the oven, I'm going to go ahead and cook some green beans. I just have some frozen green beans. Oh my God, it looks like I'm using a ton of butter, but I didn't really think it was that much. But I just like to cook those on the stovetop and then add some bacon at the end. It really kind of gives the green beans a good flavor. So I'm also going to cook some couscous. This is just plain couscous. I make sure I season it really well with salt, and then I also add a little bit of lemon as well to give it a little bit more flavor. Back to the salmon, I season that with lemon juice, olive oil, salt, pepper, and some dill along with some fresh lemon. And then for shrimp, I also like to get my shrimp from Costco. It's really good quality actually, and a good value. I just like to season this with Old Bay seasoning, and then you can fry it or saute it, I guess, in a skillet with some butter and olive oil. Okay, so once the shrimp is cooked on one side, you just want to flip it over and cook it on the other. Shrimp cooks really, really fast, so you just want to make sure that you cook it until it is opaque and not overcook it. So here is the salmon once I got it out of the oven. This actually has skin on one side, so I just take that off before I serve it. And then there is the shrimp. and then my green beans with bacon. And then my couscous was also just staying warm on the back of the stove there. So that is what we had for dinner on this night. Like I said, my kids really love salmon, so they like to have that over some couscous. Kira had some applesauce and some green beans, and then Connor had the exact same thing. And then there's Murphy. Hi, Murphy. He's always begging for food. Here's a look at my plate. I just had some couscous along with the shrimp and a little piece of salmon and some green beans. I also took leftovers of this to work for lunch the next day, and it was really, really good. Okay, so the last meal I'm going to show you is just a chicken spaghetti. This is just an alternative to ground beef spaghetti. So I have my pasta cooking there. I have some cut up chicken that I meal prepped the weekend before. So I just went ahead and cooked that in the crock pot with a few jars of spaghetti sauce on low for about 4 hours until it was heated through and the chicken was nice and tender. So we basically had the spaghetti with the chicken marinara sauce and some Parmesan cheese. And then this is Adam's. He actually also had a salad on the side with some ranch and veggies and sunflower seeds. And then this is a meal that the kids like as well. So here's Connor's plate. He is having some spaghetti along with some salad with ranch and some cucumbers and tomatoes. So that is it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you, again, are from LeeAnne's channel, thanks for coming over, and I hope you subscribe. I will leave a link to LeeAnne's video and her channel on the end screen here. I hope you got some ideas for your own family, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.